international conference concerning women's studies and celebrating Women's Day.
Okay.
Hello. First of all, let me introduce myself. It's Ghazi Asia from University of Algeria, very specifically.
Okay. Okay. You can start your presentation. Who is it? Not Dr. Khalid Ahmed Hassan? Who is presenting now? Okay, from Tahrir Mohammed Berja University, Algeria, the impact and contribution of female teachers on EFL learners' achievement in higher education. Case study, Berja University, Algeria. Please go ahead. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you so much. Thanks a million. Shall I share my?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. Just a few minutes.
Of course.
Yaptım ben açtım açtım. Geçen gün. Şuradan kaydedeyim. Tamam. Şunu bakladım. Şunu pardon sonra. Başkası yapıyor.
We can't see your screen.
Is it okay? Can you see something?
No, we can't see your screen.
We can't see your screen. We still can't see your screen. Oh, yes, we can see
now.
that.
It's okay. It's okay now?
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. So, hello, everyone, respected teachers and professors, and welcome in my presentation. So, my presentation is entitled as follows: The impact and contribution of female teachers on EFL learners' achievements in higher education. Case study of Bishar University, specifically Algeria. So EFL, it's an abbreviation for English as a foreign language. So let's get started.
Okay. Are you going to switch on your camera? Are you going to switch on your camera?
Hello?
Are you going to switch on your camera?
Honestly, I'm not wearing my scarf. If there is a problem, I can go bring the scarf.
Okay, that's fine. Carry on.
Okay. Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much. Okay. So for the outline, we will be dealing with the introduction, the purpose of the study, the research questions, the literature survey, the procedures of the study, the collection of data, discussion, data analysis, results and findings, and recommendations by the last, and the references. Okay, so as an introduction for EFL learners, teachers relationship, nowadays learning English becomes an essential part of everyday life in the globe. And inside the classroom, learners are eager to learn in a safe and opportunistic atmospheres, as most teachers are seeking to supply learners with this sort of environment. However, not all teachers pursue the same approach in their classes. While teaching English in a way or in another is highly influenced by some variables such as gender, therefore many researchers have developed ideas trying to relate the relationship between gender effects and teaching. So the effect of teachers' gender in EFL classroom is becoming more and more crucial subject among research academia. So there is a strong relationship between language learners' success and their attitude toward the language itself, and there is a strong attitude and relationship between the learning outcomes and the gender of the teacher, of higher education teacher. Besides, the past 20 years witnessed a significant reversal of a remarkable gender gap in higher education in Algeria. So it's obvious that the international phenomenon of female dominance in academic achievements paves the way to new questions about the causes for this disparity. Since on academic performance, our estimates confirm gender gap, meaning that female teachers surpass their male counterparts in teaching English in Algeria. So this is basically the problematic of our research paper. So gender studies are turning into focal attention in different colleges all over the globe, as it importantly affects the procedures of learning and education. Thus, the teacher's gender is a factor that is influencing the higher education learning process with respect to the teacher's learning relationship and interaction in EFL classes. So research on this area has widely acknowledged the gender of the teacher not only influences both the quality and the quantity of interactions in the classroom, according to Gray and Leith in 2004, but also contributes to the students' motivation towards studying the matter and the language itself, and their motivation in their mastery of the language, since English is a foreign language in Algeria. Now let's move to the objective of this study. This study attempts to contribute to the field of education by examining the university learners' perspective about the impact of their EFL English as a foreign language teachers' gender on the learning process and the learning progress. So the motivation of this study, or why we're undertaking such a study, it's basically to shed some light on the importance of the influence of EFL teachers' gender in higher education academic achievements, since it's very important to provide a relaxed atmosphere for the students to get better results and outcomes. So it's well acknowledged that teachers' gender play a crucial role amongst many factors that affect the learning and teaching process. Well, about the research questions, we have like three main questions. To what extent the university learners and EFL teachers' gender affect learning English outcomes due to educational gender gap? To what extent is learning English as gender-related phenomenon, and to what extent are university teachers similar to or different from each other as far as their academic outcomes and students' progress are concerned? I hypothesize that there may be a great impact on gender when talking about the students' achievement and progress. Gender plays a crucial role. There may be great gender difference effects in the academic performance in learning English as a foreign language between male and female university learners in English classes taught whether by male or female. Male and female EFL teachers may use different similar strategies while teaching, which might be affected by their gender. So it's basically the strategies used by a male teacher are not the same as the ones used by the female teacher. The difference in interaction between learners in English classes with male teachers and learners in classes with female teachers may be affected by their gender. Learning English may be influenced by the gender of the teacher and the learner as well. Talking about the literature survey and the previously studied phenomenon, we have the teacher's gender has been tackled previously by many professors and scholars. And in this concern, we can say that the theoretical and the pedagogical implication for EFL education has received a big attention in language learning strategy research, broadly speaking. According to some researchers, the selection of the teaching strategies is affected by certain attitudes, cultural backgrounds, including the gender of the teacher. According to D, the gender of the teacher is also a vital factor in depicting the teacher as a gender-specific role model. He argued that teachers' gender differentially impacts the teacher's relationship with male and female students, as well as their treatment to their students, which also systematically vary by gender. So he also added that when the gender of the teacher matches that of the students, they are more likely to actively participate and interact in the classroom. And when the gender is different, there must be some problems and some obstacles that impede the learning process. As well as other researchers claim that teachers of both genders incline to interact with male more than with females in the classroom. So the researchers published in the 60s and the 90s confirmed this bias treatment, which extended from primary till secondary schools and even university students. Another research conducted by Francis in 2004, research showed that female students often gave more attention to the creativity of their teachers in presenting the lessons. Their passionate and enthusiastic attitude towards the subject, as well as being well organized. So this is one of the features of female teachers. Basically, all in all, so many studies provided significant substantiation that strong and positive relationship between teachers and students are essential constituents to academic improvements of all students. So the researchers covered various genres of studies that were conducted over the past 3 decades, examining the interactions between the teacher and their students, which influence these interactions have on learning. So there is a trustworthy proof that the nature and quality of teachers' interactions with students have a significant impact on learning process. So from here, we can conclude that the learning, the impact of gender in the learning process is omnipresent and is always there to influence and impact the students' outcome in higher education, very specifically in Algeria. So let's move to the procedure of the study. So questionnaire and interview were used as tools of research to collect quantitative data through an online survey. The participants were randomly assigned from EFL classes drawn from the University of Tahrir Mohammed Bashar. The collected data were analyzed using the one-way method, and the explicit interview with EFL selected learners was added to get more accurate results about the influence of teachers' gender on the higher education learners. So data analysis and discussion, most of the pupil agreed upon that their male and female EFL teachers presented the lessons in a comprehensible style. So here we have a pie chart which shows the students' perception about female teachers. So we have 2 different attitudes. We have the positive attitude, who are like with and who agreed upon teachers' creativity and female teachers' creativity, and we have like a mixed or hybrid normal attitude towards the teacher gender. We have 90% of students who like don't even care about the teacher's gender. So depending on this result, the participants proved that the male teachers easily lose their temper and get angry in comparison to their female counterparts who are more patient with their students. On the other hand, some female teachers would face some behavioral issues that indicated that students took into consideration their teacher's gender into account when thinking of committing any problem. So this is basically the main obstacle or problem female teachers may face. Next, we have given positive feedback. So according to these students' answers, EFL female teachers cared more about these students' achievements, while some male ones were neglected or neither supportive nor giving them positive feedback, which means that they didn't care much about their learning outcomes. So here we have the female supporting feedback. When it comes to participation, which is so crucial in learning process, participation, it includes the interaction in class, the teacher and the learner interaction in class. The result shows that students whose teachers were females were more comfortable to express themselves and to answer the questions, comparing them with those who were taught by males. Thus, the teacher gender affected the learner's interaction, because these findings suggest that the female classes were more enjoyable compared to those of their male counterparts. So here we can conclude that the learners were more comfortable and interacting with the female teacher more than with the male teacher. In the last part of this questionnaire, students' answer revealed that they were aware about the difference between their EFL male and EFL teachers. So the students said that female teachers were open-minded, patient, helpful, and sometimes explicative, more explicit in their explanation of the lesson, and give pieces of advice more frequently. However, male teachers were more serious, strict, rigid, and nervous sometimes, and even sometimes dealing with the students in a tough manner, and being unfair is another issue with the male teachers. This is according to the EFL learners' answers. We have the students' preference. The informant's answers.
Doctor, you have 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes left.
5 minutes. Okay, I'm so sorry for the
No, that's no problem.
for this long presentation. Okay, so the students' preference, generally we have 60% of students who preferred to be taught by female teachers instead of male teachers, because males are more serious and controlled and try to get directly to the point, and unlike the females who are more passionate and more creative in presenting their lectures. So the data analysis, according to the results obtained during this study, it revealed that there is a significant influence of teacher gender on academic achievement in learning English as a foreign language, since learners tend to be closer to the female teachers, hence the latter has a positive effect on their performance and on their responses. So gender has a significant effect on the academic performance, which implies that the rate of students' performance were not the same when being taught by male or female teachers. So it was generated and gathered by the data. And here we have concerning the benefit of EFL teachers, the findings served to develop the teachers' comprehension of what was happening in higher education classes, as looking at their students from social lenses, which made them more mindful about the behavioral and the classes management problems, which were mainly related to gender. Last but not least, teachers can greatly influence the less motivated students, which I call low achievers, by increasing their self-esteem and confidence, empowering their motivation and igniting their desire about the importance of learning a foreign language. So, however, another important point to be tackled here, however, the findings do not imply that one teacher is better or worse than the other. Here, I'm not saying the female teachers are better or are doing great job conversely to their male counterparts. No, on the contrary, we're trying to look for some techniques, some ways to level up and to improve the students like progress, the students academic outcomes in order to get higher levels and higher degrees. So no matter what the gender is, there must be further consideration to remedy this problem, and in order to find such solutions, which is the gender difference, because most EFL learners feel comfortable and feel at ease when dealing with female teachers, unlike the male teachers who were more rigid and more direct and serious. Here we have some recommendations. So we recommend that in terms of practical implication for educators, rather than saying that female teachers, learners achieved better results, it might be more constructive, like a constructive critique to urge that the search should be continued for the characteristics and behaviors associated with being a female teacher who led to better outcomes. Once identified, those characteristics could be analyzed and addressed to the higher education leaders and policy makers in order to change and upgrade the higher education level and learning outcomes. So the conclusion of this study provided other researchers with basic for addressing additional questions in the future. Why not discussing the gender in relation with the motivation and the learning styles of the learners? This is another interesting topic to be considered in the future. At last but not least, this is the references. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to present and also to attend such a valuable presentation and research papers. And thank you for this wonderful conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr.
If there is any inquiries, I'm all ears to answer. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any quick questions? Or we should move on to the next presentation. Okay, it was my turn, but I think I'll present at the end. So if Dr. Özge Çakmak is ready from Barton University to present, then the pastime of ritual celebration of womanhood, the veil ritual in social memory. If you are ready, Dr. Çakmak, please go ahead.
Merhaba.
Merhaba.
Lale Hocam, actually, I must warn you about something. Probably the organization of the committee probably misunderstood. She is not a doctor. She's a master's student, actually. Maybe we need to warn the committee of the organizers. So she's not. She's just a student.
Okay, so just to correct, Ms. Özge Çakmak, if you'd like to present your paper, thank you, Associate Professor Hicran Hocam, thank you. Thanks very much.
Ekran paylaşım yapabilir miyim?
Yapabilirsiniz. Yani izin vermeme gerek yok sanırım.
Tamam. Açıyorum o zaman.
Tamam.
Görülüyor mu şu an?
Görünüyor.
Tamamdır.
Başlatmam lazım sunumu. Slide gösterisinden başlatabilirsiniz.
Hı hı.
Üstte slide gösterisi başlığı var.
Evet,
Tamam.
biliyorum ama şu an
Evet.
sıkıntı oldu.
We're just waiting for Miss Chuckmuck to sort out her PowerPoint presentation. Then we'll start in a second.
Tamam, bu şekilde devam edeyim olmadı. Daha
Tamam,
sonra
olur.
açılırsa devam
Tamam,
edeyim.
tamam,
Ben
sorun değil.
başlayayım.
Siz buyurun tabii.
Tekrardan merhaba. Ben Üniversitesi Üniversitesi Sosyoloji Bölümü Yüksek Lisans öğrencisiyim. Hocamın da az önce belirttiği üzere. Başlığımız ritüelle kadınlığı kutlamanın dili geçmiş zamanı toplumsal bellekte duvak ritüeli. Duvak, düğünden sonra gelinin başrolde olduğu bir geçiş dönemi ritüelidir. Ritüel bir davranış, olay veya durum tekrarlanmasıyla ritüel haline gelir. Geçiş dönemi doğum, evlenme, ölüm gibi sosyal olaylarla nitelendirilebilir. Doğum ile hayata başlarız. Evlenme bir nevi yeniden doğumu ifade eder. Ölüm ise hayatın bittiği noktadır. Geçiş dönemi ritüelleri statünün değişimini ifade etmektedir. Burada duvak gelinin kadınlığa kabul ritüelidir. Burada gelinin çeyizinin ve bekaretin işaretlerinin toplumsal onaya sunulduğu bir ritüeldir ve günümüzde terk edilmiş bir ritüel olmasından dolayı sözlü tarihi kaydedilmiştir. Sözlü tarih geçmişin aktörlerinin deneyimlerine odaklanır. Bu açıdan da ele alındığında sözlü tarih araştırması tarihsel açıdan önemi olan olayları görme şansını yakalamış sıradan insanların deneyimlerini ya gelecek kuşaklara aktarmak amacıyla ya da yazılı tarihi tahsil etmek amacıyla sistematik bir görüşme yöntemidir. Çünkü bazı olaylar bellekte derin izler bırakabilir. Bir olay aynı anda birden çok bilince etkiler ve bu bilinçle ortak bir kolektif bilinçle birleşirler. Bu araştırmada duvak ritüelinin sözlü tarihinden hareketle toplumsal bellek açısından değerlendirilmesi söz konusudur. Çalışmanın amacı duvak ritüelinin Bartın elindeki adı ve nasıl, neden uygulandığı gibi hususların ortaya konulması amaçlanmıştır. Ayrıca duvak geleneği ne zaman yapılır, nasıl bir eğlencedir, duvak neyi temsil eder, bu soruların cevabını almak da çalışmanın amaçları arasındadır. Bu geçiş dönemi ritüeli duvak, taze gelinin genç kızlıktan kadınla sosyal normlara paralel bir şekilde geçişinin kutlanması incelenmiştir. Ve Bartın ili sınırları içerisindeki kırsal kesimlerde ikamet eden 15 evli kadınla kendisine duvak ritüeli icra edilmiş 15 evli kadınla yarı yapılandırılmış bir mülakat gerçekleştirilmiştir. Böylece duvak ritüelinin toplumsal bellekteki yeri tasvir edilmiş, araştırmaya katılanların neredeyse tamamı ilkokul seviyesi öğrenim derecesine sahip olmakla birlikte yaşları da 46-75 arasında değişmektedir. Mülakatlar yüzle gerçekleştirilmiş olup kaynak kişiler araştırmaya gönüllü katılım sağlamışlardır. Ve mülakatlar öncesi eksponan formları imzalanmıştır. Saha çalışmamız 1 ay sürmüştür. Mülakat soruları ana hatlarıyla 4 gruptan oluşmaktadır. Kaynak kişilerin demografik özellikleri, duvak geleneğinin nasıl icra edildiği, ritüelin kaynak kişilerin sosyal grup içindeki o sosyo-kültürel boyutuyla ifade ettiği anlamlar, toplumsal bellek açısından duvak ritüelinin nasıl ve hangi duygular eşliğinde hatırlandığı ve çalışma dediğim gibi sözlü tarih kuramından yararlanılmıştır. Katılımcılar duvak ritüelinin son tanıklarından oluşmaktadır. Nasıl icra edilir peki? Şöyle, Bartın'da adı duvak günü olarak bilinirken ismi yöreden yöreye, bölgeden bölgeye değişmektedir. Mesela Hatay'da Supe günü, Sinop'ta Samat günü, Safranbolu'da Paça günü, Kastamonu'da Semet ve gelin görme olarak da bilinmektedir. Bu duvak günü için ayrı bir davet söz konusu değildir. Çünkü düğüne davet edilirken zaten ertesi günü bir duvak günü olduğu bilinmektedir. Duvak gününün yapılmasının amacı ise kaynak kişilerin tabiriyle gelinin kız mı kadın mı olduğunu görmektir. Dolayısıyla burada gelinin iffeti olgusu ön plana çıkmaktadır. Duvak günü gelinin iffetinin bozulup bozulmadığını öğrenmek isteyenlerin gelip gördüğü bir davettir. Eğer gelinin iffeti daha önce bozulmuşsa gelin baba evine geri gönderilmektedir. Gelin gönderildiğinde ise duvak günü iptal olmaktadır. Burada da ayrıntılara yer verdim. Bakabilirsiniz. Yemek ritüeli hususuna gelecek olursak da duvak gününde sofralar kurulurdu ve o sofralarda çeşit çeşit yemekler olurdu ki bunlar Bartın yöresine özgü yemeklerdi. Duvak günü ritüeli bir kutlamayı içerdiğinden gelinin dünyaya bir kadın olarak tekrar gelişinin kutlanması burada söz konusudur. Yemek ikram etmek bir nevi hediyedir. Gelen misafirler için duvak gününe geldiği için hediye olarak yemek ikram edilmektedir. Yemek yeme ritüeli dostluk, arkadaşlık, muhabbetle ilişkilendirilir ve yemek yeme, paylaşma, birlik, beraberlik anlamlarına da gelmektedir. Duvak günü kurulan sofranın ortasında boş bir tabak konularak içine para atılırdı. Bir nevi yeni evli çift eksiklerini tamamlasın, gelin ihtiyaçlarını alsın diye yapılan bir faaliyetti. Kendisi de zamanla aynı geçiş döneminden geçen gelin statüsünde yer alan kaynak kişi, kadınla empati kurarak kendilerinin zamanda verilmeyen bu harçlıkları gelinin avucuna vererek nereye gittiğinden emin olmaktadırlar. Ki ritüel nedir? Dinamik ve akışkandır. Ve bu nedenle de zaman içerisinde bağlamsal ve anlamsal olarak değişikliğe uğrayabilir. Araştırmamız gelinlerin bu geçiş dönemi ritüeli sırasında gelinlik veya temiz bir elbise giydiğini göstermektedir. Söz konusu bu elbisenin beyaz oluşu da sembolik boyutuyla yeni bir başlangıca işaret etmesi de muhtemeldir. Duvak ritüelinde gelinin duvağı hep açık olmaktadır. Damat düğün günü gelinin duvağını açmakta ve o duvak bir daha kapanmamaktadır. Ama biz öğrendik ki Safranbolu örneğinde bizim komşu ilimiz Safranbolu örneğinde bir söz dizimi mevcut. Elinde oklava olan bir kadın duvağı oklavaya doluyor, açıp kapayarak dua eder gibi bir söz dizimiyle öğüt vermeye başlıyor. Kutlu olsun, kutlu olsun, evde dirliğin tatlı olsun, 2 oğlun bir kızın olsun, ahir akibetin hayırlı olsun diye bir söz dizimi mevcut. Fakat biz görüyoruz ki bu söz dizimi Bartın'da mevcut değil. Kutlu olsun sözleri. Bu kutlu olsun da gelinin Tanrı tarafından kutsanmasıyla ilişkilendirilir. Yani burada bir kutsal bağ ile ilişkilendirme mevcuttur. Evet, şimdi sağlıçtan bahsetmek istiyorum. Duvak günü kadının yanında bir sağlıç bulunmakta. Sağlıç kadına o gün geline ne yapması gerektiğini öğreten ki bu kişi de aynı geçiş döneminden geçmiş biridir. Deneyimlemiş biridir ve o gün ne yapması gerektiğini gelinine öğretir. Eğlenme hususunda o gün eğlenceler gerçekleşiyor ve kadınlar arasında eğlenceler olmaktadır. Sadece erkekler katılsa bile kadınların olduğu alanın dışında ayrı bir alanda, evin önünde ya da bahçede yine aynı şekilde erkeklere de ikramlarda bulunuluyor ama kadınlar sadece kendi arasında bir eğlence gerçekleşiyor. Ve şunu da belirtmek isterim ki daha uzak bir geçmiş zamanda da tanıklık eden kaynak kişiler orkestranın teyit gibi aletlerin hani olmamasından dolayı kaşık çalma, işte tepsi çalma ya da türkü söylemi gibi eğlencelerin varlığından söz etmişlerdir. Ta ki yakın geçmiş zamana geldiğimizde teyip ve orkestra tabii ki baş göstermiştir yine eğlencelerde. Bir de Duvak Günü bir halk inancı var ki günümüze kadar gelmiştir, korunmuştur. Kimi kaynak kişiler buna inanırken kimileri ise inanmamaktadır.
Özge Hanım toparlayabilir misiniz?
Tabii ki,
Rica
tabii ki.
etsem.
Tabii, az kaldı zaten. Eğer Duvak Günü yapılan bir iş varsa bu işin hiç bitmeyeceğine dair bir inanış var. Eğer gelin Duvak Günü bir iş yaparsa ya da ertesi gün iş yaparsa bu iş hiç bitmeyecektir. Evet, şimdi toparlayalım, sonuca gelelim. Sonuç olarak günümüzde duvak geleneğinin yapılmadığı bilinmektedir. Bunun nedeni olarak da birçok faktör sıralanabilir. Artık çiftler evlendikten sonra balayıyla adlandırılan bir tatile çıkmakta ve evlendikten sonra gelinle damadın ayrı bir eve çıkması var. Yani kayınvalideli bir arada yaşamamaktadır gelin. Ve gelinin kayınvalidesini kanıtlaması gereken durum da ortadan kalkmaktadır. Üçüncüsü ve belki de en önemli sebep şu ki kadının kamusal çıkması ve kendi ayakları üzerinde duran bir kadın profili yaratmasıdır. Bunun doğrultusunda da duvak ritüelinin ekonomik koşullarla da ilişkili olduğu belirtilebilir. Ve kadınlar sosyal hayatta çalışan kadın olarak yer almaktadır. Kendilerini istemedikleri bir konumun içerisinde bulmaları ise en aza indirilmiştir. Çünkü kadın artık kendi ekonomik bağımsızlığını kazanmıştır. Ve bunları takiben söyleyebiliriz ki bu ritüel, duvak ritüeli gelecekte de hani icra edileceğine olan inancımız azalmaktadır. Beni dinlediğiniz için teşekkür ederim.
Biz teşekkür ederiz. Thank you to Ms. Özge Çakmak for her very interesting talk on the ritual celebration of womanhood and the importance of the veil, using the examples of the West Black Sea region, Barton and neighbouring provinces. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Özge Çakmak? If not, we will continue. No, okay. Thank you very much. Çok teşekkür ederiz. Ağzınıza sağlık. Sağ olun, teşekkür ederiz. Thank you. So, looking at the program, Dr. Zahra Yasin Alwan, from what I gather, is unable to join us. Dr. Harit Ahmed Hassan is unable to join us. Dr. Hazi Asa has presented. Ms. Özge Çakmak has presented. So the final presentation is mine and Associate Professor Hülya Çolaklar's. So I will go ahead and hopefully not take up too much time. Sorry, 1 second. I'm having the same problem that that Özge did. Okay. Our presentation is about the visibility of ordinary women in the Turkish archives. It's co-authored by myself, Dr. Lale Özdemir Şahin, and Associate Professor Hülya Çolaklar. We're from Barton University in Turkey. We have designed the presentation so that it will be short and compact because of the time restraints. We didn't realise that a few people wouldn't be participating, so it's going to be brief. So, sorry, let's get this out of the way. So this, so as I said, we examined the visibility of ordinary Ottoman women in the Turkish archives, and we're not sociologists or anthropologists. So we examine this from information and records management archival perspective. So forgive us if we're not up to date with all of the sociological and anthropological terminology. So in this study, we explore the portrayal of Ottoman women through the eyes of Ottoman Turkish archival records. Ottoman chronicles that were written to emphasise the legality and legitimacy of the Ottoman state, they tended to focus on political events and therefore tended to be patriarchal in nature, because political events tended to focus on the actions of men. However, an examination of Ottoman archival records reveals that women played an active role in society and enjoyed plethora rights and contributed to society both economically, socially, and politically. The rights granted to women included legal rights that were comparable to those enjoyed by men. So obviously this is a far cry from a dated Western cliche portrayal of Ottoman women that centred around the harem and sexuality. And Ottoman Turkish historiography in the past has tended to focus on elite or high society or women that were based in the palace or from the ruling Ottoman family. But in the last few years, we have witnessed the development of scholarship focusing on ordinary women. For example, Metin Soy and her contribution to scholarship, she examined the role of ordinary women during World War I. Also, Kern has looked at the role of marriage and citizenship and how this has affected the portrayal of women and the contribution of women to state building. So the aim of the study, Ottoman women that included Jews, Christians and Muslims founded endowments, set up businesses, became landowners and ran local market stalls, just like men. So the aim of this study is to examine the portrayal of Ottoman women in Ottoman Turkish archival records to determine how the archives have preserved the memory of the ordinary Ottoman woman as opposed to those in high society. Our methodology this study is of a descriptive nature. It's a preliminary study. You cannot make generalizations based on our data because we had a limited scope. We used the digital Ottoman archives to access records. We used the search term of Ottoman women and conducted a detailed search using the Ottoman archives. Obviously, the actual records are in Ottoman Turkish, but the file descriptions are in modern Turkish. So that's what we focused on. So we carried out an analysis of file descriptions by topic. There are a total of 802 records that relate to Ottoman women when you search Ottoman women in the catalogue, and we basically examined 100 file descriptions. They were random selection. There was no particular order, random selection, and the records that we looked at dated from 1565 to 1916, so from the 16th century to the 20th century. So this is just a snapshot from the website of the electronic Ottoman archive. So here are a few entries I'll discuss further in a second. So one is about what happens to the real estate of an Ottoman woman when she marries a foreigner. Another one relates to the marriage between Iranian and Ottomans, which became problematic, as I'll explain in a second. So our analysis of the topics of the file descriptions revealed that a plethora of different topics that range from property, justice, economy, morality, citizenship, punishment, genealogy, children. The most popular topics were marriage, death, crime, property. So if we look at just at a very basic level, so we have 100 file descriptions. 33 of the file descriptions relate to marriage, followed by death, followed by crime and punishment, followed by economy. And then we have other topics that appear to a lesser degree, such as citizenship, asylum, taxation, inheritance, immigration, welfare benefits. So, for example, what kind of topics relate to marriage? So, when the Ottomans, I'll just give you an example. When the Ottomans passed the law of nationality in 1869, women took on the citizenship of their husband when they married. So this became problematic for the Ottomans because the Ottomans viewed the Safavid Iranian dynasty as a threat. So the Ottomans then, the Ottoman administration then banned the marriage between Ottoman women and Iranian men, because they were worried that there would be, that over time, because women took on the nationality of their husbands, the citizenship of their husbands when they married, the Ottomans were worried that the property would transfer also, and that this would increase the power of the Safavids and would encroach on Ottoman territory. So what we see is that the Ottomans banned marriage between Ottoman women, Ottoman citizen women and Iranian men, and at one point also banned the marriage of foreign Ottoman, non-Muslim Ottoman citizens and with Iranian men. So this, in a way, is a form of self-regulation that the Ottomans espoused on a national political level, and it basically translated to a control of women's rights. So if we look at the Ottoman archival digital file descriptions by topic, 1% of the files that we looked at were about debt, 10 crime and punishment. So obviously, like any society through any period, any century, as is the case today in all countries, you have gender-based violence. So there are file descriptions that talk about crimes committed against women. For example, in one file, men are given a punishment of shackles because they kidnapped a woman and took her to the mountains. 11% of the files relate to death, because when Ottoman citizens died in other territories, this was written to the authorities, and the Ottomans would note the death in their census and their records. The Ottoman state was very, very bureaucratic, and it was absolutely a lean machine. You could tell that the bureaucracy worked to the minute detail. And like I said, 33% of the files were about marriage. So what happens when an Ottoman citizen woman marries an Iranian man, even though it is prohibited? What happens to property when an Armenian woman marries so-and-so, etc.? Because in the Ottoman period, women had more or less the same rights as men when it came to, sorry, was somebody saying
أنا
something?
دخلت الرابط بس وجدت مؤتمر المرأة.
Sorry, I'll just carry on. So,
ينتهي.
sorry, I'm presenting.
خلوا نفس المؤتمر، ما أخرج. لا أخرج، أبقى في نفس المؤتمر.
Sorry.
ألو. إن شاء الله.
Hello. I'm still presenting. So I'll finish in a couple of minutes just to give you an example of file descriptions. Number one, that a woman in Beale named Bushan who runs a brothel has been enticing Ottoman women and that this should be investigated. So it doesn't, so this is about morality. The next one, an evaluation of the future procedure to be followed in the case of an Ottoman woman who owns real estate and has married a foreigner, because women relinquish their property rights when they marry a foreigner. And also the third file description relates to the ban of Ottomans marrying Iranians. The death of an Ottoman woman in Tiflis was reported to the registry, and despite not being granted approval by her husband, an Ottoman